And so being a folk singer, that's great tonight, and also this has been an important year because on my 55th birthday on June 9th, I met my mother for the first time, who was disguised in my family as my cousin my entire life. And I find out she's Mohawk and French, and I found out, you know, she used to buy me a lot of Gordon Lightfoot records, right? She bought me the very first Gordon Lightfoot record when I was about 8. It said Lightfoot across the front. Got a picture of Gord on the front. Looks just like Luc Doucet. And all these years she bought me the single, like, you know, the Edmund Fitzgerald, where you got to flip it over. Like every record that Gord's ever made, I had delivered to me by my cousin, who was my mom. It made me think, well, I've never really found out who my father is. And we look so much alike. Daddy? So, I was... Oh, I'm so tired, too. Great, thank you. This is going out real well so far. I think maybe Mariposa will reconsider me. So, I was raised by my great aunt and my great uncle, who were much older. And my great uncle, George Wilson, was blinded in the Second World War. He was a tail gunner in a Lancaster bomber. And there was a considerable amount of drinking going on, and they were older, and like their idea of like hip music, which is still, by the way, to me, hip, was like Don Messer's Jubilee, right? Charlie Chamberlain, Marg Osborne, and the Islanders, you know, and of course Wilf Carter, you know, and Hank Snow, and there was like you know, very little, you know, music beyond that coming into the house, but especially, you know, that youngin'. Gordy Lightfoot guy, right, wasn't coming into the house. But my father was from Cookstown, Ontario, and that's close to Aurelia, and he thought, well, you know what, we're going to give that feller Lightfoot, give him a bit of a go. So he started getting played in the house. Now, so my father's blind in the Second World War, and then the Mohawk side of my family used to come down to visit all the time. I had this Mohawk uncle named Jim Bove. He was 5 feet tall, and he was 300 pounds, right? And he used to come down, he used to go and do iron work down in New York City, and he'd stop in our house, and he'd sit at the kitchen table, and he'd play songs on the guitar. And there'd be my dad, who was blind, and Jim Bove, this 5 foot, 300 pound Mohawk guy, and there'd be a ball of rye on the table. So you knew nothing good was going to happen. And just before they started beating the shit out of each other, he'd play songs like Steel Rail Blues, you know, and Railroad Trilogy, and all these beautiful Gordon Lightfoot songs, and make my father happy, and Buck Owens and Roger Miller. Anyway, sometime in the evening things went wrong, and I was just about 8 years old, and I'd watch it happen, and they'd square off in the kitchen, and my mother would pay no attention to them whatsoever. She had given up on them. And I don't really know what you paid to get in here tonight, but if you really wanted to see a show, you should have been in my kitchen 1968 to see a blind man fight a 300 pound, 5 foot Indian guy. Now there's some entertainment for you folks. I'm going to do this song.